This June, as the maritime industry observes the International Day of the Seafarer, under the theme Carrying World Trade, Carrying the Risks, we explore the human realities behind life at sea. Through the voices of maritime professionals who have lived the experience, we'll hear stories of responsibility, sacrifice, resilience, and the pressures that come with keeping global trade moving. I sat with Captain Devron Newman, Dean of the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies at the CMU. A former seafarer with experience aboard general cargo vessels, Captain Newman reflects on the responsibilities, risks, and split-second decisions that shape life at sea, and how those experiences now influence the way the CMU prepares future seafarers. Good morning, Captain Newman.
Good morning.
Welcome to Maritime Monthly. It is my pleasure to sit with you to have this conversation around International Day of the Seafarer. As we start, I just wanted you to kind of give the audience an idea of, oh no, I don't want to say that. I'm going to start over. All right. Good morning, Captain Newman.
Good morning.
Welcome to Maritime Monthly. It is our pleasure to have you and to have this conversation with you about International Day of the Seafarer. Before we get started, though, I would love if you could just tell our audience about yourself.
Wow. Okay, well, I think it's relevant for me to speak mainly about my maritime career. I
Yes.
started my maritime education and training in 1982 under the tutelage of the Norwegian instructors. I first went to sea in 1984, 85, and I spent my 24 months at sea as a cadet. I then returned to the institute. I wanted to become a marine pilot, and my head of department at the time indicated to me that no, I was not going to do that. He wanted me to join the staff of the CMU. So it was CMI at the time or JMTI, and therefore I joined the staff under his guidance, and here I am. So I served at sea for about 8 years, and I went all the way up to the class one level. So I have a master certificate of competence, and today I am the dean for the Faculty of Marine and Nautical Studies.
Okay, thank you so much for that background, Captain. So I want to just dive right into the questions. And my first question for you today is, can you recall a moment during your years at sea that you fully understood the weight of the responsibilities that seafarers like yourself carry?
Okay, I can recall one particular event that I often use in classes with my cadets. And I was on watch one night, 8 to 12 watch. I was a junior officer, and we were heading southbound of the east coast of Honduras. The weather was quite bad. It was raining heavily, and the visibility therefore was significantly reduced. And I heard a call on the VHF radio um, saying, "Big ship, big ship, big ship. This is a sailing yacht, sailing yacht, sailing yacht." However, I was not able to see the vessel. It was difficult to detect it on the radar because of the aspect of the target itself. And I had a lookout with me, but he was outside on the bridge ring. So I reached out to him and asked him, can you look to see if he could see any light? Because I could not see anything. And he looked and he reported, he said, no, he couldn't see anything. A few minutes later, I saw a faint light on the starboard side of the ship coming very close. And I realized that that must be the light of the sailing vessel. I immediately altered the course of the ship to port, made a bold alteration, and realized that I just avoided a collision with a sailing vessel. So I was happy that I took that decision at the time, and I was not able to create any accident or cause any casualty as the outcome of that incident.
Ah, seafarers are very important. You worked on general cargo vessels transporting trucks, cars, and buses. What realities of that type of work do people on land really think about?
Yeah, I think people really think about working at sea in terms of there's a lot of isolation, loneliness, you have mental and emotional pressure, you have long working hours, you can be harsh weather conditions, rain and sea, snow and ice and so on, high levels of responsibility with respect to your work, safety risks, cultural differences, a big problem at sea, and lack of a certain degree of freedom, meaning you can't just get up and go for a walk off the ship in the middle of the ocean. So, yes, those are some realities that the ordinary man ashore would not think of.
Okay. But beyond the technical skills that the seafarers require, what kind of pressures do seafarers carry on a daily basis?
Generally speaking, seafarers they're always under some kind of mental pressure or burden. And this may come or manifest itself in the forms of different things. For example, if you have a family ashore, that could be pressure in their problems at home. You're not sure how to address some of them. You're so far away, you're 1,000 miles away from home, and it can be very stressful. You also have career and financial pressure that may come to bear on you. Career in terms of you're seeking to get promoted, you're having some difficulties with that in terms of time, in terms of your qualifications. So that could create some stress on you. Fear of accidents and emergencies. Inspection and performance pressure is a big part because you undergo a lot of inspections on board from external verifiers, for example. So you want to make sure everything that you're doing is in keeping with the required standards and so on. So that can be very pressuring. And then you have interpersonal tension because of the cultural differences on board, different nationalities. Some people don't speak to you. If they do, they speak in a very derogative manner and so on. And that can also be very demotivating.
Mm, mm. I'm gonna throw this question in here, Captain, but just from your personal experiences aboard, did you have uh pressure that you were navigating while you were at sea, and like how were you able to handle that?
I didn't experience any pressure because fortunately I built very good relationships with the people on board. I learned that from the early days how to make sure that you are not having tensions, conflicts with people. So I always had good support. And my superiors were always keen on showing me things, teaching me how to do things and so on. So I always had a good relationship with the crew and the rest of the officers.
Okay. All right. So this year, the theme for International Day of the Seafarer is carrying world trade, carrying the risks. And I wanted to ask you, in your experience as a seafarer, in your experience in being a part of maritime education, through being a dean, like what does that phrase mean to you as a former seafarer?
Okay. So seafarers are very important. They are the unseen workforce behind global trade. So while they are providing a service, there are associated risks in doing so. So we have storms, unpredictable, harsh sea conditions, accidents, we have possibility of collisions, we have machinery failure, we have conflict zones that we have to navigate through sometimes based on what you see is happening with Iran and the US, for example, in the Strait of Hormuz, pollution incidents, injury while handling cargo or mooring operations, long separation from family. Last but very, very important, and that could result in emotional pressure as well. So I think seafarers play a very significant role while they're doing their jobs, but there is a significant amount of risk associated with that activity.
Okay. Um, on the instruction side of being a seafarer, you've been a part of CMI, CMU, JMTI. You've been here at CMU through all its iterations, and I just wanted to ask, like, how does CMU prepare cadets not just academically, but mentally and professionally for the realities that you've shared with us at sea?
I think we do a very good job of preparing the cadets by allowing them to be a part of the program in terms of assuming responsibilities. We normally identify cadets that have the potential to be leaders or to assume leadership positions, and we put them in these positions. And we allow them to also encourage others to to learn from what it is that they're doing. So we have a very structured system. We have a company leader, we have a second in command, we have divisional commanders, we have second in command divisional cadets, and so we allow them to manage while we provide the oversight to make sure that they're properly guided, but we allow them to lead in their own within the ambit of their responsibility. We also have flag party, that we have some cadets that are responsible for the flag party on a daily basis, so that allows them to develop a certain level of responsibility. We have event coordinators, we have physical training coordinators. So all of those activities allow them to develop certain qualities that they can take with them into the world of work.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Apart from doing helping them in terms of the the different activities, is there a particular thing that we do here at CMU that helps them with the mental aspect of things? Because I can imagine that making that transition from land, then going on board the sea, it's gonna be a shock for, or it could be a shock for a new cadet. So is there anything that we do here at CMU right now to help them with the mental and emotional demands that they're going to experience?
Okay, well, IMO has come up with this human element leadership and management training. So it's a course that we offer in our program. And that allows them to become aware of the challenges that they may face in terms of um, interpersonal relationships, in terms of deal with different nationalities. How do you deal with leadership officers who are senior to you, and so on? Where do you fall in the structure on board? How are you supposed to function, and so on? So that allows us. So it's a formal course that we offer for one semester, and that allows them to be better prepared to go on board, to fit in. Of course, everyone is going to have to get their own experience, but in my time, there was nothing, nobody prepared me for going to sea other than the academics, which didn't count as much at the time because all you were doing is just following instructions, doing daily tasks, and so on. So I think they're better prepared for a life at sea with this course, having completed it.
Okay. How important for a cadet, for a seafarer, are discipline, emotion resilience, and judgment as they navigate maritime operations?
Well, discipline is very important because you're going to need to use it to apply it to your daily activities. For example, there's a lot of procedures that you have to follow on board. Shipboard operations is very routine by nature, and we have teamwork activities, so you have to learn how to be able to work in a team, how to achieve these particular objectives. So if you're not disciplined, you're going to have some challenges. So discipline is very, very important. uh, Safety is number one on board, so therefore we have procedures that you have to consistently follow. You have to maintain watchkeeping standards. You have to follow protocols, report hazards and defects honestly, respect the chain of command. So all of these things in terms of discipline. If you're not disciplined, you're likely to be an unruly person. That's not going to work at sea.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the so emotional resilience, because as we've having been having this conversation, you'll have probably persons that you don't necessarily get along with, or you might experience something at home and it's impacting you. Like, how important is developing that skill of emotion resilience for a cadet who is on ship?
Well, it's important to help you to cope. Uh, what happens when you're at sea is that you have the Seafarers Institute that facilitates normally someone from a religious organization. There's a Seaman Center, and you have these individuals that come on board to reach out to the crew, invite them to this particular facility. You can play games, you can go on the internet, you can what should I say, go for prayers, you can perform some religious activities and so on. You can speak to this particular person, it's like a counselor and so on. So those things we are not able to provide that here, but when you get on board, then that will help. In terms of um, with emotional resilience, you have to learn how to manage stress. So we try to stress is it's natural that you're going to be stressed that time. You're going to be fatigued, but how do you cope? So we try to expose them to that sort of thing. Of course, it's pressuring to start the parade at 7:40. You have a full day at school. How do you manage? So we have sessions that allow for the cadets to speak about the challenges that they're having. How can we help them to go through the day, which is very stressful. It's a longer day than any other student, the other programs in the university. And so that prepares them for that kind of resilience. How do you recover from setbacks? You're going to have difficult situations at board as well, but what do you do with a situation after you have experienced some kind of setback? You want to ensure that we encourage them to maintain a certain level of morale and to be professional at all times.
Mm. Okay, thank you, Captain. So, um, we're about to wind down our conversation, but before we do so, I just want to ask, what do you hope every CMU cadet understands before they step on board a ship for the first time?
The cadet must understand that he or she is there to learn, not to prove him or herself. Ask questions if you have any doubts. Ship life is structured and rule driven, so get accustomed to that. You're not in a position of authority yet, so you're still learning. So be humble. Competence is built over time and not immediately. So don't go and behave as if you are an expert at this at the very beginning. Try to learn as much. Um, Practice time management because that will be tested. Respect the chain of command. I said that before, and safety is priority. And you're always going to be assessed, and mistakes will happen. The key is how you learn from them.
Okay, thank you, Captain, for sitting with me today. It was my pleasure to have this conversation with you, and I just wanted to wish you happy International Day at the Seafarer.
Thank you very much.